Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen and ladies, welcome. You already know another week, another opportunity to be great, another opportunity to grow and better yourself. This is LS3. Welcome to Medicine Ball and let that beat drop. It's Medicine Ball with your boy LS3 to be exact, and if you're in shape, at least your brain should be. Welcome to Medicine Ball, where we're focusing on giving your brain a six-pack. Now, I'm no doctor, no psychiatrist, no psychologist, but I have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder 1 for 15 years, and with that comes an interesting insight into therapy, medications, dealing with the actual ailments, and changing your overall way that you view life and deal with things in order to better yourself and better your way of thinking. So, could have chose to be anywhere in the world today, and you guys chose to be with me. You already know I never take that lightly. So welcome to the family. Everything mental health is a go on my show. So whether you're somebody who's been actually diagnosed with one of the many mental health illnesses that they are, or one of the millions of Americans that suffer from depression, anxiety, and one of many other mental health illnesses, this is your outlet, this is your family. Hopefully I can help you guys out and give you some hacks and tips and tricks when it comes to dealing with this thing called life. I was forced to change the way that I live and perceive things in order to live mentally healthy. That's right. This week's episode, nothing too serious, man. You know, empathy. That's it, empathy, because that's what we're going to discuss this week, man. So whether you're somebody who suffers with empathy or wants to be more empathetic or wants to be able to relate more to your fellow mankind, this is the show for you. With no further ado, let's get it popping. Yes. Welcome, y'all. Another week, another opportunity to be great. I say that at the beginning of every show, man, but what does that mean? As we go through life and go through our trials, tribulations, ups, downs, failures, adversities, and those things, it's important to learn from those opportunities, because another opportunity will arise, whether it be the next minute, the next hour, the next day, or the next week. And you want to constantly be storing and remembering the things that didn't go your way and what you learned from them, so that when the opportunity arises again, you can implement what you've learned. And how you thinking, man. Remember, it's Medicine Ball. It's about working out your brain, exercising your brain. Changing the way you think, changing how you react to certain situations is working your brain out to make it stronger. Piggybacking off of that, we will have more things coming up. You know, I had to keep it real with myself, you guys, man. The mental health aspect is very, very important, not to be taken lightly. But just imagine how much better or how in sync your body will be if you also add the physical. And that comes with what you put in your body, you know, how you exercise. And I'm not going to go on a big rant about it. I'm not diehard. I'm not swinging one way extreme. But I do want to just try it, you know. So coming up, and that's some of the things we're going to be launching. I wanted to tell you guys, make sure you follow the page and like the page on Facebook, the Medicine Ball group, because we do have things that have to do with wellness going on. Whether you're somebody who's curious in stones and sage, whether you're somebody who's curious in changing how you eat, I do have people who are specialists in this, and we're going to start booking events and bringing it together as one. I want you guys to see where I'm kind of going with this. So, you know, again, I'm not heavy on anything like that, but it's something that I'm willing to try, because ultimately what you put in your body does affect your mood, your temperament, the amount of energy you have, motivation, etc., etc. So all of that to say, hey, go follow the Facebook group. Go like the Facebook page so you can get this updates and access to this exclusive content. The other thing is, when I send these links out, a lot of time I might send it out with Anchor or Spreaker. I'm available on those platforms. But if you're a person who's listening to it on one of those platforms and you use maybe Google Play Music, we're available there. Spotify, I'm there. iTunes, I'm there. Spreaker, FM Radio, Pocket Cast. Medicine Ball is now available on about, I want to say, 12 of the major platforms and about 5 of the other small ones. So if you're getting this link and you listen to your music or you listen to your content another way, go search Medicine Ball. We are there. And as always, please like, subscribe, favorite, add it to your thing. I put it out once a week right now, and it's a chance for you to get updated without having to search for me through your favorite provider. So I always appreciate that, man. Y'all are my family. Y'all are my audience. Y'all are the reason that I do this. Just continue to support, and we're going to keep it moving. Without any further ado, let's get into this thing, man. Empathy. So I want to start off by defining what empathy is, because empathy has a word that sounds a lot like it. Kind of mean the same things, right? Just on the outside looking in, that word is sympathy. And when I talk with people, especially people who are curious about empathy, it's like they get lost right there. So let me start off by giving you the definitions. And these are definitions that I looked up. I know it's deeper, but just to kind of give you an idea. So empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. The ability to understand and share the feelings of another. Sympathy is a feeling of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. A feeling of pity and sorrow for someone else's misfortune. So I'm gonna dive into it a little bit deeper for you guys, right? Really quick, I have a very close friend, someone who's dear to me. Her mother passed away, and I know there's a lot of people whose mom has passed away, but the thing about me and her relationship is her mother's birthday and my mother's birthday fall on the same date. So on those days, I'm careful about what I say. I'm careful all the time, but I'm more aware of it. And in that feeling, that would be considered sympathy because I still have my mother, but I don't really know what it's like. And I guess maybe using me as an example is not good because I'm really empathetic, so I can. But let's just say, for the sake of conversation, hey, I still have my mother, so no matter how much, if I'm being sympathetic, I feel some type of way, but I don't know what it's like to be in their shoes. Sympathy is feeling some way about someone, but not really knowing what it's like to be in their shoes. Empathy, and this is me explaining it, is being in that person's shoes, right? So empathy is the ability to stop and because I am empathetic, it's like I feel her pain and I just can't really explain it. Like, I've always heard people over the years use the term empath, and I didn't really understand what that meant. But now I do because I'm more aware. And it's like you feel people's energies. Like when people say they may shake somebody's hand and they can feel what they're going through, in a way, that is empathy. And I think because these two things are so close that a lot of people think that they're the same thing or similar when they're really two totally different things. One of them is a actual feeling of what that other person or individual is feeling. The other one is kind of offering a condolence or a, hey, I'm here for you or whatnot, but you can't really feel the pain they feel. You can't feel that heartache. So I wanted to point that out first because I thought that was very, very important when it comes to empathy, because too often we're sympathetic, but we're not empathetic. And those things are a world of ways away. If you want to just take, medicine ball, a lot of times I look at athletes, right? And it's like we may be sympathetic, but we don't care. Let me take that another way. If LeBron James said, yo, my daughter is sick, I couldn't play this game, the whole media in the world is going to make some big deal out of it. I mean, look at Kawhi Leonard, load management, right? Because they're like, hey, I feel for you, but yo, we want to see you back. They're not feeling. Empathy is being like, yo, if I was LeBron, I wouldn't be at the game. Because I can feel his pain. I can feel his concern, right? So again, sympathy, nowadays, it's used, like I said, it's like a feeling of sorrow for someone else who's experienced something, but it's like you don't know what it's like to be in their shoes, Again, you may have sympathy for something because you feel their point of view or see where they're coming from, but you don't understand the feeling behind it. Empathy is, and this is another example for you. Empathy is like what I feel now, older, knowing how much Jordans cost. Looking at my nieces and nephews, knowing how much recreational sports cost, and participating in the school band, and buying uniforms, and making sure your kids can go on those field trips. When I think about now that I know how much things cost, and I look back at my mother, who was a single mother, my father was around, but she was the one who was raising us, and like me and my brother had every pair of Jordan. If we wanted to be in some extracurricular, she made it happen. Now that I'm older and I understand how money works, what people make, what she was probably making, PlayStations, subscriptions, and that thing, I have a different empathy for my mom. Like, it's just like I can almost break down. And I think that's why, like, even now, I'm empathetic for her plight. Anything she goes through, I try not to be hard on her about things that I remember as a kid that she may take harder than me just saying it. So when I think about that, man, it's just like, man, I gotta make it. I'm indebted to my mother. I can understand that. I can definitely feel it. So where does all this go with mental health and how you perceive the world and how you're able to look at things? For me personally, and again, you guys know my situation. I'm diagnosed bipolar. I still get anxiety. And and I like to make this clear to people, man, because I try to be transparent. I still get depressed. I still get upset. I still get anxiety. I still fail. I still do bad things in relationships. I still sometimes can't hold my tongue in conversations when I should let it go. It still happens. But my empathy for me is a gift and a curse, because it's something that people can't understand. It's either you get it or you don't. So it's like, if I discuss something with someone and there's an argument, I know, because I'm empathetic, that I'm going to go back and look at that text message conversation and be like, man, what could I have done wrong? Or if somebody's doing something I don't like, or I feel like they're doing something to me or against me, I honestly go back and try to look at, like, yo, what are you doing that maybe is rubbing this person the wrong way? Even though it's not always a situation where I'm necessarily doing something, I'm completely open to the idea, like, yo, as much as this person may get on your nerves, bro, it's something that you do that probably get on their nerves just as darn much. So keep perspective. So the idea about building empathy, and that's what we're going to talk about in the second seg, ways to start building more empathy as opposed to sympathy, because it'll make you look at people different in situations different. That boss who's going through a divorce with their wife, if they come in a little bit grumpy, and I'm not saying it's an excuse for poor behavior or being disrespectful or rude, because it's not, but maybe you cut them a little bit of slack. And I know with my life, I find struggle, because with me doing this medicine ball and speaking and thinking a certain type of way, sometimes I find that I want more empathy from my peers and those who come to me like, hey, I'm still diagnosed. I still get anxiety. I still get depressed. I still get frustrated. I still get angry. Why don't you understand? But it's a thing about empathy. And I realize that a lot of people just don't have it. Now, I honestly feel, and I can't say because I don't have any kids, but I feel like those who are most open to being empathetic, and again, this is just going based on logic. I'm not specific on everybody's situation is different. I feel like a mother. I feel like a mother. So when I start thinking about terms, and no one ever used this term with me, but it's thrown out there, like people say stuff like mama's boy. Your mother's probably empathetic to you. Like my dad is stiff, stern. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I could produce a beat and have that joker on the radio tomorrow. My dude's gonna look me in the face and tell me it's a hobby. You feel what I'm saying? My mother's gonna be the one to be like, yo, you know how he is, da 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 da. She gonna give me that empathy. So I think that mothers are highly empathetic just by nature of the situation. As a male, you don't have that child coming out of you. You didn't have that child in you. So your bond and your situation with that will never be able to match that of a mother's, I don't think, regardless of the situation, man. So empathy, we're going to focus on that, but I just wanted to point out those two differences and where people get lost a lot, man. And like I said, for me, with my diagnosis in the way I think, it's a gift and a curse. So let me just go into that a little bit more. Like, because I'm able to understand where people are coming from and put myself in their shoes to think and logic, like whenever I start thinking like, yo, this person's not logical, I got to stop myself and I'm like, okay, let me put myself in their shoes so it can make sense to me. It's a gift and a curse, because it's like, if I see someone who maybe have a selfish tendency or maybe who's abrasive or something like that, my empathetic side is like, how they are, and I'm able to understand, depending on the person, if it's something that they can help or if they or not. Like I say a lot, like they don't mean that, or they don't know what they mean when they say that. It's just like, for instance, when I hear somebody says randomly, I see it on social media all the time. People make jokes. I'm bipolar. I'm cute and I'm angry. And I'm like, man, like, a part of me is like, yo, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not for you to go jump on their post, and I'm good at it now. It's taken a lot of practice. But another part of me is just like, man, just because they should know better, like, should you enlighten them or maybe speak your piece? So it's a gift and a curse. It's a fine line because I wrestle with it all the time. It's like, I understand this person. I know how they are to a T. Like, I read people real quick, and it's like, once I'm able to kind of catch the little things that you do, it doesn't bother me as much. But it's just like, it's a curse as well, because it's like, when you're empathetic, the responsibility, ultimately what I'm saying, is on you to be that empathetic person if that's who you are. So that does, in some situations, it can be an unfortunate thing, mean that you got to be the more patient person. You have to be the more tolerable person. You're the one with the empathy. They don't have the empathy. So the responsibility is on you. And it really helps because I'm able to see where people's coming from, but I know I can't give them that benefit of the doubt. So just like I was saying, if I get into an argument or something, I know that I'm going to go back because I can be empathetic. I can really get into an argument and say, yo, I was wrong, and not make a spectacle of that mistake. Remember, we talked about that, and really know that I'm going to go back and do my due diligence to make sure that I learn something from that and become a better person. The average person is not going to do that. So it's like, that's another responsibility on me because I know the average person is not going to do it. And it's not to say that they're a bad person. They may just not have it. They might not know how to get it. It's on me to be like, hey, I'm dealing with a person who doesn't have that empathy. It's on me to be responsible and kind of deal with it in a more mature way. All right. So I know that sounds rough. I know it sounds hard to a lot of people. It can sound like a walkover. Like, I'm the type of dude, right? I have been in situations. I used to be a party promoter. I have been in situations when I'm literally in the party, in the VIP or something, and I got my older cousins who are, influential and big name. They've always been like known in the city, be sitting in a VIP section at a party that I'm throwing, and I not even know, watching my back, and I got, maybe my little cousins over here waiting to jump on people. I've been in them situations, stepped on somebody's shoe, and go out of my way to be like, yo, I'm sorry, my bad, brother, didn't mean to step on your shoe. I'm gonna stop and do that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I'm empathetic. That he could have spent his last, I'm not falling for the tricks. Yeah, you in the club, you in the VIP, you could have spent your last dollar on them shoes. You might be a shoe fanatic. My brother's a shoe fanatic. You might be a shoe fanatic. That's number one. Number two, I understand the responsibility that I have of not only me, but the people around me and how they're going to react. Empathy, man. So in this next seg, I don't want y'all to get too lost. I just want y'all to keep it in perspective. We're going to talk about ways to increase your empathy. And in the third seg, I'm going to tell y'all what the benefits are to doing that and how it will make you more adept and more flexible when it comes to dealing with people so that you can keep your peace of mind. Because that's what it's all about, exercising your mind and being able to deal with different things. I think one of the things that sets me apart is my ability to, when I do get angry or upset or depressed, I get in those slumps, but I'm able to get out of them real quick. And I think that that's probably a result. That is a result of me always looking at things as well as the empathy. So seg 2 coming up. Check this beat and we're going to get right back to you. Medicine Ball with your boy LS3. Appreciate you rocking with me. We're going to get back after this beat. Yeah. Welcome back. That's right. Medicine Ball with your boy LS3. If you're in shape, at least your brain should be. We focusing on giving your brain a six-pack. Welcome back to Medicine Ball, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, empathy. Let's get right back into it. So, I like to be, as I continue to grow this, I like to be more transparent with you guys, man. And I just want to give you guys an example, man. So my father, man, as we continue to talk more, and those who know me and my father, man, I love this guy, man. I know he means well, but this dude is stiff. And just to give you a little bit of insight into that, man, He is a Vietnam veteran, a sergeant who had his own platoon, and he was really in the trenches, man. This dude shows me all kind of pictures, and I've seen all kind of pictures of him like out of the helicopter with the gun, bro. So with that being said, my dad is a tough cookie, man. And before I learned to, kind of control what I say and my smart remarks and quirkiness, I realized that, man, I get it from this guy, man. So I'm just gonna give y'all real quick an example of like my father, and I'm working into this empathy thing and kind of increasing empathy and learning how people are. So like I said, with me knowing my father is a Vietnam veteran, I gotta keep it real with myself. I have never sat down and asked this dude like, yo, have you killed someone? I just know the stories that my mom has told me that he has told her. And I guess one of these days, when one of these days we could sit down and I'm going to get into it. And because of that, like, bro, I've never had to kill nobody. I've never seen my friend die in my arms. And this is probably for all veterans, but more so him. So with me knowing that, when I look at some of the stuff he does and some of the ways that he does it, and I got 4 older sisters, I'm the first boy. I can't really, when I get upset and frustrated, I go back to thinking about that and like, yo, I can't relate to that. So let me give y'all an example, bro. This is when I realized my father is who he is, right? So I remember one time we might have been at the house, and the house was me, my father, and my brother, a bachelor house for real, for real. Long story short, it was a carpet cleaner this man bought. You know what I mean? This dude is a guy who has everything in his garage, laser guided salt. He's just the guy who has everything. But anyway, he had a carpet cleaner, and my dad makes subtle hints. So at that time, if he bought a carpet cleaner and kind of set that joint out in the living room, that was kind of like, yo, somebody needs to clean their carpet, right? So I take advantage, trying to think ahead, and this was a while back, so I wasn't thinking on the same path, but I was still trying to, kind of keep the peace, you know what I mean? I start working with the cleaner and things of that nature, and, it's not working, or I'm not going to say it's not working. I wasn't able to get it to work, and long story short, it came down to cleaning it or something like that, and I was talking to him, and I was like, man, yeah. I was like, I don't know what's going on with it. He's just like, man, you just don't know how to work it, man. You know what I mean? So as I'm cleaning this carpet cleaner up, because I had a spill or something, and I'm cleaning it up. Now, mind you, I know when this dude buys new stuff, the instructions are on the back of the carpet cleaner, still in the package. And when I tell you it's sealed, like, this dude did not take these instructions out, bro. Like, you would have had to break a seal so that you can open the plastic bag wide enough to pull the instructions out. So I'm thinking to myself, you don't know how to use it either. But it was at that point I was like, okay, this dude is just a quick guy. Like he gonna say something smart. And as I got older and as I get older, I'm able to deal with it and chalk it up. Like the things that I used to get frustrated and mad about, I chalk it up to empathy. Like this dude is 71 years old and he's real active. And he's always doing weird stuff, man. And like anything I think is weird, I'm able to put myself in his shoes and be like, yo, we're dealing with a guy who, and as much as, again, I always say I talk to my dad and I don't think he understands the mental health thing. Like he probably has a mental health illness. PTSD is a mental health illness. I remember younger, this dude would wake up in the middle of the night and just be like, where's my gun? And I'd be like, what the hell, what you mean? And he'd just be like, never mind. So it's like when I see stuff like that and I see him do other things, I'm like, yo, this dude's paid his dues. He's been a Vietnam vet. I don't know what he's been through in his life because I don't ask enough about it. But even in me not asking enough about it, I'm got to be empathetic to that. Like, bro, you can't be mad and frustrated about things when you don't. And some of the stuff I'm scared to ask him about, like, yo, if you are in the military or something like that, man, like, how do you feel if you got kids? How would you feel about your kids just being like, yo, did you kill somebody or something? Because I feel like that would change you as a person. Like, you're probably not going to be, you're probably going to be a little bit more stern, a little bit more hard if you killed the person or you've been in situations where your life depended on it and people are shooting at you. I ain't been in none of them situations like that. You feel what I mean? So some of the stuff he does, I got to be empathetic. Like, yo, until you sit down and get a better understanding of why he's doing it, you're either going to have to accept him for who he is. So that's just an example of me, I feel like, instilling empathy. But we're going to get right to it, man. I'm going to tell you guys some ways to increase your empathy as well as some things that I did. Now, the first thing, and I'm gonna always stick to this for my listeners who, even the ones who know me personally and don't, I'm gonna always stick to this meditation thing. When I really decided that I wanted to become more empathetic, I went and researched how to increase empathy, and it led me down meditation into the Buddhist monks and some of those situations like why they don't kill animals and flies and things of that nature. It's a state of empathy. So the first thing I did was meditate on it, but I'm not going to count that because a lot of people, if you do meditate, that's a good starting point to just meditate on empathetic, meditate on other people's situations and really let yourself go and let your feelings go to accept their feelings. Like, it's weird, man. Once you start to meditate on it, and this is for my meditation head, it will fast track you there to being empathetic. Side note, I just saw and I know I'm late, but I just saw a little series or a little short movie. It was called Shot in the Dark, and the guy's name was Taekwon Greer, and it's a story about a guy who was playing basketball in Chicago. And long story short, he got shot in the leg right when his team made it to the finals, right? So he's a young kid at this point, and there's a game where they're about to lose. And I think this was like a week maybe after he got shot in the leg. He ends up subbing in and hitting the game-winning three. Long story short, he isn't able to be as effective as he was. And at the end, when they lose, there's a point where this 18-year-old walks into the bathroom, showers, and you just hear him break down and cry. And he's like, it's all my fault, man. This is my fault. And like, bro, I shed a tear. And I'm not soft, but it's just like, as you become more open and empathetic, like I felt that. Like, dude, this dude is 17. I couldn't imagine being 17, wanting to party and live it up. You're a basketball star. You go to a party, you happen to live in Chicago, you get shot in the leg, and your team doesn't win the finals. I couldn't imagine that, man. So it's just like empathy. So meditation will fast track you there to get those kind of results. But here's some things for the people who aren't really into meditating. Number one, and this is very big, and this is in my personality, ask questions. Ask better questions. Let me be clear on that. Ask better questions. For instance, I'll give you an example. Even with Google, I find that it's a unique talent I have where I'm able to find darn near anything I want on Google. And if I only have a little bit of information, I'm able to type it in a certain way to where, for instance, what foods have fatty acids is going to be different from fatty acids are most prevalent in which items. Even though it sounds the same, just the way that you ask the question will give you a different result. So when it comes to life, ask better questions. I know with religion, and I'm going to touch on this just real quick, jump in and jump out because it can be a touchy subject, but just like when I have some conversations with certain people about religion, it goes like horribly a majority of the time, and that's why I gotta watch. And the reason is like I believe in God, I believe in a higher power, I believe in doing well, and I believe in it. I even with the Bible, I went down and researched on like what's the best order to read the books in order to get a great concept. I researched that before I even dove into the Bible, and it's like I will ask questions about that. And I think a lot of times with religion, people are so quick to, if you ask a question, take it as you not being in belief or you offending them. When it's not that, asking questions opens you up to other ideas and other, possibilities, other realities, because best believe in your religion, there's something you're doing in your religion that another religion doesn't agree with and another religion may get offended by. That doesn't mean somebody's right and somebody's wrong. You got to open yourself up to there being more than one possibility. You got to ask better questions. Like I said in the first seg, man, whenever I start feeling like, that somebody's riding me or somebody's coming at me, and we're going to get into this in the third seg, the gift and the curse and the thin line with being empathetic. But it's like, I'm completely open to asking myself like, dude, what are you doing? to make this person frustrated? What are you doing that this person maybe doesn't like, and how can you change that and be better? Like, it's just so many situations, bro. Like when me and my brother were living together, man, I knew that little stuff, like hopping out of the shower and standing on the carpet that's there for you to drip and get wet, leaving a little footprints in there of water. I knew that that kind of stuff drove him crazy, and it was a gift and a curse, because it's like when you're empathetic and you're able to understand people and know how they are, if you really wanted to, you could pick at them. So whenever my brother would make me upset, and he's hearing this now and probably he's like, oh man, you were whack. Man, all I knew I had to do was take a shower and stand on the mat, get them footprints there. Like, the dude hated that stuff. But you got to ask yourself better questions. That's what I'm getting to, man. Not ask yourself, but just ask better questions. And by that, that means be open to the idea that there's not always a right and a wrong. Two things can be true. More than one thing can be true. Other people's perspective matters, and how they feel matters at all. This will eventually help you to be more empathetic, because you'll be able to see things from other people's other point of view, but feel them. You know, you just got to ask questions like, hey, what if they're right? What if I was yelling in this situation? What if this can be perceived as, when you start asking yourself those type of questions, or just those questions, period, when you start questioning things, and not in a defiant way, but in a way of wanting to gain knowledge, you get more understanding. I want to piggyback that straight into the second thing. Examine your biases, man. Examine your biases, man. You gotta like look at what you feel is right and wrong, and look at things that are morally correct versus the way that you see them. You know, some people think it's right to whip their kids. Some people think it's wrong. If you're a person on either side of the fence, you got to look at the situation. These things ultimately will open you up and have you be more empathetic, and it brings more understanding. But you got to look at your biases. What are things that you are really against? Why are you against them? Is it logical for you to be against them? Are you thinking logically with the way that you're arriving to it? You got to examine what you feel as biases, because when you have a bias or way or something that you're stuck on, you're never going to be open to being able to look at other people. And this piggybacks right into the third thing: walk in other shoes. Let's take that a step further, man. If you see a struggling mother who maybe, I don't want to touch that. Walk in other people's shoes, man. If you see somebody who's drinking and maybe you don't like the fact that they drink, why are they drinking? Do you know that maybe their mother has cancer? Maybe they had a close friend do something to them. Maybe when they were younger, something happened in their childhood that they're not going to openly tell you about. Walk in other shoes. Think about some of the things that may have happened to you in your childhood that mold the person you are, that you wouldn't just openly tell just any and everybody, but it really affects the person you are. Walk in other shoes. You're not the only person that has that. Too often, it's easy in this world, and it doesn't make you a bad person, but it's easy in this world to get caught up in the idea that what you have going on in your life is the most important thing, that your trials and tribulations are more important than the other person, and that's not the case. Like, I mean, shout out to my sister, man. Not to put too much out there, but my sister just made Judge, and she just had a little 5-minute conversation with me. She was just telling me how they cut her fund. Like, dude, I like it. Just had me another respect for. A long story short, and I'm sure she won't have a problem with it, but like $25,000 pay cut. Imagine that. Imagine your little job where you get a little dollar pay cut versus somebody getting a $25,000 pay cut. And I know somebody's going to be like, well, depending on the numbers, if you add them up, it could be the difference. But just think about that. To keep fighting, to stay in that profession and want to keep going and doing something like that, when somebody just took $25,000 pay cut, bro, what can you do with that? My nieces and nephews is in college. Like, I was like, yo, she kept going. She had to fund her own campaign. Like, and she doesn't even know, like, when she told me that, like, I just had so much more respect for her, man. Like, I just really looked at her because I saw my sister go to FSU and work at Kroger, and now she's a judge, bro. Like, you can't tell me it's not beautiful. But even that, like, empathy, man. I put myself in her shoes, because even as she was explaining it to me, like, I could feel the fire. I could feel the hardship that she had to go through, man. So you got to walk in other shoes. Two more, man. The next one is get out of your usual environment. So if you hang with a specific amount of type of people and you go to same places, you're not going to open yourself up to other ideas. The thing behind that, getting out of your unusual environment, let me sum that up for you. Do something different. All right. Like I feel like I was kind of blessed because the high school that I went to at the time when I started going there, like no joke, you could check these numbers, but maybe it couldn't have been no more than 15% black. And by the time my brother graduated, who's 2 years behind me, it had to be like 65% black. But I'm saying that to say, I was able to get into acting. You know what I mean? I was able to do stuff that I wouldn't do with my same friends. Some of them are in the hood, some of them are in the street. I was able to experience multiple things. I played soccer, you know what I mean? I played volleyball, that opens you up to different situations. If you go to this bookshop, go to this bookshop. I do weird stuff, man. Like I go to dog parks. You feel what I'm saying? You gotta get out and do something different, because if you're stuck in your same routine and only looking at the same thing, like it's just in the human mind to be programmed to accept that's it. There's nothing else, So get out of that, man. And this is the most important final thing, man. You gotta challenge yourself. Nothing ever comes easy, man. If you can't challenge yourself to open up your minds and your thoughts and your ideas and the fact that, hey, you may be wrong, or what you're saying may sound crazy to someone else, and vice versa. Or let's step back and think to yourself, yo, are you always thinking of everything logically? Like, even with me, like sometimes I look at people like, that's not logical. I'm able to stop and be like, yo, bro, you're definitely not Einstein, man. Everything you think ain't logical, and I accept those flaws. All right. So do those things, man. You got to ask better questions just in life. Take initiative, research, be curious, want to get knowledge. Examine your biases, man. What things you take to be true and as factual. Examine whether or not they're logical and what they're based on. Walk in others' shoes. Walk in other people's shoes, man. Put yourself in them situations. When they open up to you, take advantage of those situations and make yourself be open to feel them. Do something different or get out of your usual, man. Shake it up. If you get stuck in a box, man, i.e. same friends, same places, same routines, same events, same activities, you're going to take that to be that's all. And there's a world around you of people who don't even know what those things are. Change things up and challenge yourself, man. Open up and challenge yourself to really be empathetic, man. And with that comes a lot of soul searching and whatnot. But you got to challenge yourself to do all of these things. If you continue to practice these things, man, and you really succumb and you really take heed of what empathy is and keep that in your mind when you're dealing with people and situations, you will become more empathetic. And that unlocks a lot more doors when it comes to dealing with different people, personalities, and situations. And in the third seg, I'm going to tell you some of the advantages and disadvantages of being more empathetic, and also how to work it into your everyday routine, all right? To make this thing called life be a little bit better. Yo, appreciate y'all rocking with me. That was the second seg on this episode, which is just titled Empathy. Check this beat. We're going to come back with the third seg and wrap it up. Yeah. Welcome back. Medicine Ball with your boy LS3. If you're in the shape, then at least your brain should be. Welcome to Medicine Ball, where we focusing on giving your brain a six-pack. That's right. Hey. Let's get back right into it. Empathy. The first seg, we define the difference between empathy and sympathy. Two words that are very similar. They even sound similar, but mean two different things, and the idea behind it. The second seg, I discussed some tips and tricks and some steps you could take to become a more empathetic person. And in this third seg, you already know I'm going to bring it all together and let you know, and when we're talking about empathy in this episode, it's more when it comes to dealing with different people, different personalities, different relationships, and different situations that have to do with people in order to get through them and whatnot. So let's keep it moving, man. So look, my mother has a dog. And the dog's name is Happy, and I was with her when she went and got this dog. And speaking of empathy, man, I think pets, especially your personal pets, I don't have any cats and anything or anything. Never had a gift, so I'm just relating it to dogs. Think about them; they're very empathetic. They know your mood. They know your routine. They know when you need a little bit more attention. They know when to come at you for affection. They know when to go away when they've done something wrong. That's because they got to be in tune with your feelings. They don't know how to communicate with you and say, I'm sorry or my bad. They have to go based on your feelings and your vibes. Empathy, man, it will open you up. So I'm going to bring it all together. But anyway, my mom has a dog. The dog's name is Happy. And as I've grown, and changed how I think and perceive things and situations and people, one thing that used to always bother me, like, my family stays relatively close within each other, and it's a situation where if my mother's like, hey, I'm gonna come see you, or hey, I'm a something like that, like, it should take her no longer than, like, literally, no joke, like 30 minutes. But because I'm empathetic and I'm able to, when I would be around my mother at her house and seeing her routine when it comes time to get ready to leave, I know it can be a little bit hectic for her. So I used to get upset when something that should take her, 30 minutes or so to get with me ended up taking like a few hours in some situations. But one day I was in a situation where I was in the car, the car waiting on her, and the dog was in the car. And I just noticed, like, the dog would just sit there. Like, he has been conditioned. He understands his owner. He's not wagging his tail, not circling around, just sitting there, legs crossed, Happy crosses his legs, and just be chilling. And I'm like, this dude understands who he's dealing with, and he's not going to let him bother it, and he's riding no matter what. So back to empathy, man. Um, when you are become more empathetic, you learn people, basically. And here's where the lines can get blurred. Because you learn people, that means you learn the things that makes them happy. And ultimately, empathy is also an investment in whoever you're dealing with. And I invest a lot into everybody, but that's neither here nor there. It will open you up to people, and it could get blurred because you once you start becoming invested in a person, what makes them tick, what how they look at things, you uncannily, or just as a byproduct, you learn the things that can make them upset and frustrate them, which can be very, very dangerous. So, like, even with my empathy, I related to like a mutant power, and like I got to use it for good, because you'll learn what makes a person tick. You'll learn what things you can say in a point of view. And it's a blurred line for me because it's a lot of situations where I know I can do something. It don't even have to be vulgar. It could just be to call out something that the person doesn't want to pay attention to or want to ignore or something like that. It will upset them. Just like I was telling you about my brother, man. I'm going to pick on him one more other time. Like, this dude, man, I love my bro, man. That's my man. I do anything for him. But when we were younger, I had the PlayStation, and I think he might have had the 64. I don't know what was going on, but he had the Nintendo 64. And this man was real particular about his controllers, man, to the point where, like, yo, don't eat Doritos and play my controller. Don't eat Doritos and play on my controller. Or, man, when you set my 64 controller down, man, don't set it on the side where the joystick is pushed to one side. And I used to be like, what? This dude here. So, whenever I wanted to make him mad, if we were playing a fighting game or something, I just flipped the controller in the air like, oh, hell no. You know what I'm saying? It was just to pick at him. But I'm saying that to say, as you become more empathetic, you tend to learn a person and their ideals, and you can feel their moods and feel how they feel. And you got to be careful not to use that in a bad way, man, because you will be able to pick at folks, and that's not the goal of it here. The other thing with empathy is, and this is another downside. So that was kind of a downside. You can be over empathetic, and I have this problem, and it's something that I'm working into. And it's like, once I realize who a person is and their faults and the things that they're good at, they're bad at, the things that make them tick, their strategies and arguments and things of that nature, which it just comes to me as the more I dive into that person, you can end up being too empathetic. And that can blur the lines, because if you start letting stuff slide, if you build that pattern or that behavior of being a person who, maybe somebody says something you don't like, and because you're empathetic and like, hey, this person's come from a background where maybe they didn't communicate the best, you let that slide. but ultimately it will start to bother you if it goes against your solid morals and your foundation. So you have to kind of keep that on task. And as I talk to you guys, even as I talk to you, it helps me. So always remember that and keep that in perspective. The monks, as peaceful as they were, I'm pretty sure, their self defense techniques are legendary. I'm pretty sure the monks weren't going to just sit there and let you run up in their temple. They were going to defend themselves. So that's something I'm learning. But you have to learn not to be over empathetic and still hold people accountables. Don't allow anything that really, really goes against your true deep down beliefs and morals, because it will eventually get on your nerves and you'll snap. Now, let's talk about some positive. So, once you're a more empathetic person and you're more aware and open to people's feelings and situations, it opens up a bigger sense of awareness. But with that, you're able to learn how to put the people you deal with and put you guys in situations to where they can disappoint you less. So life is about disappointments. When you're dealing with human beings, one thing that I realize that I try to tell everybody else is sooner or later, we're human. A human being is going to disappoint you. Someone's going to disappoint you. You're going to disappoint someone as well. Why not learn them so then you could put them in situations where they're least likely to disappoint you, which will cause any kind of tension. So, for instance, if you know that you need something that's time sensitive, I'll use myself as an example. If I need something time sensitive from my mother, I'm not going to have anything time sensitive sent over there to her. If it's something that I need and dire need of, I'm not going to put her in that situation because I know what her routine is like. And it's to the point now where I want my mother to worry about as least as possible when she leaves the house, so that she can be focused and calm when she's driving to get to her destination. I'm not going to put her in that situation. And in a lot of ways, if we're going to take this back to sports, I feel like, certain positions, certain people, like a quarterback, I feel like you have to know that person you're dealing with, man. You have to know your audience, and that comes from getting and investing in them and feeling what happened and what they came from. I'll use Michael Jordan as an example, man. Like, everyone talks about the shot with Steve Kerr. Michael had to know, like, yo, I'm gonna put Steve in a situation where I'm not asking him to do too much. I'm gonna tell him, yo, Steve, go stand over there in that corner. I know that Steve can shoot well from this corner because I've talked to him. Maybe I bet Michael Jordan knows like what his percentage is from that corner shot. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna put him in a situation to where he's gonna have to call a play and run a pick and roll and figure out the double. No, just stand over there, Steve, catch, shoot. Your wide receivers, I'm going to put this dude in a situation where I know he's least likely to disappoint me. So you get to that point where you know your audience, so that way you can base your interactions on empathetic and to be in a situation where there's not as much tension and you could diffuse a lot of situations ahead of time. I'll use as an example. So again, you guys know I went to a predominantly white high school, and my football experience, man, I really appreciate it, and it put me in some situations. I had a dude on the offensive line, man, and like, this dude was a country guy. He had a big old truck with a big antenna. He would do some silly stuff that if you're maybe a black person who's from a urban area, the city or the hood, you would not let a white dude joke around with you like that. But I was on a football team with him. I went to a majority white school at the time. Like, I had to do what I had to do. But long story short, like, as we grew, I know this guy. Me and this guy had been in some battles together. I have been in a locker room on football camps with him. I have made road trips with him. I really know this individual. And I used to see on Facebook where he would post some questionable stuff. And I would just be like, I know this dude's hard. He ain't malicious by it. He doesn't mean anything by it. But it can be perceived in a way that most people would probably say he's racist or something like that. Now, fast forward, I came across this guy here recently, and we were just having a casual conversation talking about something differently. And somehow he said something like, man, I don't even talk about politics anymore. And I was thinking in my head, this is a smart guy. He understands his relationships. Like, I know who this guy hangs out with. I know who his friends are. They're guys who the black community would consider hood guys. You know what I'm saying? Upstanding guys, maybe street guys, maybe tough guys. Even some of his best friends. He's one of my close friends. He's not a racist guy at all. Does he say some things? Yeah, but it's more so in an inquisitive way. He doesn't mean any harm by it. It's not malicious, but it's just funny that I see that he had evolved to the point where he was like, listen, politics. We ain't even, he made it clear in so many words. We're not even going to go there. So it helps you to put yourself into situations with people where you can be most productive and avoid a disappointment. The other thing it also does is it allows you to analyze situations and personalities so that you can find the best in people. So I know that people come to me and they ask me about business opportunities and things of that nature, and that is because they know that I'm able to see what they're doing. I have a friend who's a vegan, and she's a mother, and when she talks about stuff like, yo, I got to cook for the kids and they're driving me wild and whatnot, I'm like, are you recording it? I'm like somebody wants to see that. You're a success story. And like, she often is like, I don't even think about that. Like, you got a different mind. And that's because the people that I'm invested in and empathy, I can see it from both sides. So because I'm able to see their strengths and their weaknesses, the things that they're good at, the things that they're like people always tell me about that. They're like, man, you're really good at like finding what people are good at. And it sucks because I'm not good at doing it for myself. But I'm good for doing it for other people. But it would allow you, and when you invest that and when you show that to somebody, it creates a loyalty and a sense of comfort of being comfortable with you. Like a lot of my interactions, people I think sometimes do things because they're just that comfortable with me. I have people who contact me often and tell me about things that are going on in their life and they want their input. And it's because they know that I have that. And again, it just helps you to be able to deal with situations quicker and more efficiently in a successful way. I'm able to look at situations where it could be a problem or some type of tension or something, and I can keep my distance but still be able to be open and not burn the bridge, to where if it's an opportunity to make money or be fruitful or make something positive happen, that door is still open, man. So those are the upsides and the downsides, man. It really makes you aware of people. And, another thing to kind of be aware of is if you really get into it, it can make you and will make you very sensitive to those around you. And I don't know if I'll put this as a good or a bad, but it just makes you be more aware of where you're going for events. I don't know if it makes sense, but like, you can feel people's energies. So it's like, if you're around somebody who's depressed and whatnot, it will weigh heavier on you. If you're in a room with a bunch of people who are maybe, Jay-Z said it best, I'll show you how to move in a room full of vultures. I'm able to do that, man, because I can go in there and just like be like, okay, this person is this. And I'm not perfect, but I know that I am more accurate than the average person is. So empathy, man, we have to learn to instill it. Not only does it help you be able to deal with situations and people better and easier, but it's just really the right thing to do. Now, again, it's a thin line. Don't sell yourself out. And it depends. If it's somebody you really love and you really care about, man, you got to see if it's worth it for you to sacrifice some of the things that you believe to be, more catering towards them. But the thing about it, you got to know, man, is it's going to put more responsibility on you, because once you understand empathy, you also understand how many people lack the empathy, and you have to understand that doesn't make them a bad person or anything like that. It's just you have to deal with the situation different. So it is a responsibility, man, but anything challenging is worth going after, man. So we're going to wrap it up, man. Empathy, man. Yo, remember, as always, like, subscribe, share. If you see somebody going through it, I try to make my podcast and things that could be teaching. So if you see somebody going through an addiction, maybe you can send them something about the podcast about the depression. If you see somebody who's a sports fanatic, in one of my podcasts, I did a lot of references to sports, send them that, man. We got to share. We have to build this environment and address everything that has to do with our mental health so that we can learn to deal with people and live harmoniously. Be at peace with yourself. The sooner you're able to exercise, the sooner you're able to look at some of the depression and anxiety different, man. So share the podcast, follow the page. Another week. I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. This is the 17th episode, Empathy. As always, keep it up. Y'all got this. I believe in y'all. I love y'all. This has been Medicine Ball. Until next week, yeah.